All right. Welcome back to this episode of Fourth and Vibes. Today we are doing our week 2 review show. A lot happened in the NFL. Some teams stink, some teams are good. I'm going to start diving into it right now. Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. Again, I'm a Ravens fan, so forgive me if I'm glazing a little bit. They look great. Actually, let me refrain. And they started to pull away towards the end of the third quarter. Really, it was a much closer game than it needed to be. Browns defense did a fucking phenomenal job stopping Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson on the ground. I think that was kind of their game plan. Jim Schwartz wanted to not lose by running the ball. Unfortunately for them, got a lot of weapons on the Baltimore side. But yeah, honestly, the Browns defense played lights out. Myles Garrett had the whole offensive line, I should say, in a blender for multiple reps. It was, what do you do against a guy like that? He's a freak of nature, and now that Aaron Donald's retired, probably the best defensive player in the NFL. I know, go argue a wall, Pittsburgh. You could have 1A, 1A, 1A. They're the same fucking player. They're both elite. They're both legit. But yeah, so Myles Garrett was unbelievable in this game, like he always is. Browns defense was phenomenal. Run defense specifically was amazing. Obviously, the pass defense kind of got killed a little bit. One thing I did notice is that Lamar looked a bit off on the deeper passes. Obviously he was phenomenal, but at the end of the day, there were a couple shots, and I'm not saying every quarter he doesn't need a 100% completion percentage. Anything over 65, 70 is legit. I'm just nitpicking at this point, but there were a couple passes deep that it seemed like he still needs a little bit more time to kind of get that deep ball taken care of. Not taken care of, but not that he's ever been an elite deep ball thrower, but it definitely seems like something's a little bit off. Not anything to be concerned with. They don't need to throw deep, obviously, because they put up 30 something points not after Roquan, but Roquan had 7 of those, so 30 something points. There was a huge special teams play. Jake Hummel, shout out, new guy on the Ravens, a special teams ace. Blocked a punt, obviously gave the boys some pretty good field position. And yeah, another thing I don't really like, and maybe this is a thing around defensive meeting rooms, Derrick Henry needs to kind of hang on. I don't want to say hang on to the ball, but it seems like people are capitalizing on the fact that there's times where when he's not paying attention and trying to do something else, the ball isn't necessarily as tight as it should be. Second week, he got kind of the ball not punched out. Ed Oliver ripped it out, but punched out this game. And yeah, I just don't want to see that to be, no, I don't want to say a trend, because he's rarely, if ever, fumbled in his career, but I don't know, maybe he holds the ball a certain way and needs to change it, because defenses seem to be keying in on how he's hanging onto the ball. Tylan Wallace legacy game, he's made a few legit plays, including that touchdown. I look great. Roquan, I don't know where that speed came from on that touchdown return, but I don't want to say he's not fast, but he looked faster than he's looked in years. So maybe we should get the ball in Roquan's hands to unlock that speed again. More turnovers, boys. Pass rush, I know Van Noy got knocked out, but pass rush, it's not a problem till it's a problem. Like obviously Flacco didn't have all day to throw and stuff like that, but there were just some instances, and it happened against Buffalo. And there's just times where you're like, all right, boys, come on, let's get the quarterback down. But nothing to be concerned of. There's still a lot of season left. Obviously, they could trade for somebody. They could pick someone up. Judon and Smith are done. And Clowney just got signed by the Texans. Wouldn't have been super upset. We'll see how Mike Green, and I know Ojabo's been a healthy scratch for the last few games, so maybe he'll start to compete and deliver. I know, man, the Pickens. That's a conversation for another day. DeAndre Hopkins was unbelievable on 2. I feel like this year he's going to have some pretty big time catches, because he's already, it's 2 games in, and he's had some, he had an OBJ catch in week 1, and this past weekend, blanketed in coverage, got to the ball, like perfect. He should have had 2 touchdowns really, but we'll give him just 1, unfortunately, for the week. But yeah, I don't think he's washed. I think he's still one of the best contested catch guys in the NFL, and I'm really looking forward to how they're and just the chemistry and everything. Like, chemistry with Lamar and him are only going to get better. Everything's going to be on the up and up. I'm really excited to see what Hopkins looks like in this wide receiver core and just really in this offense in general. What else we got? Devontae Walker, 3 for 3, 3 touchdowns, 3 receptions in his career. It's a shame that this wasn't 2 or 3 years ago, because he'd have the number 2 role locked up, all that type of stuff, but unfortunately Bateman and Flowers are in that 1A kind of deal. And then you have Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely when he comes back healthy, Kalarkin, not putting him above Devontae Walker, but Tylan Wallace also obviously has shown it's a deep wide receiver room, probably the deepest in Ravens history. Really impressed with kind of where he comes in and how he comes out. To be quite honest, it's just really nice having that fourth, fifth, sixth option, being able to score touchdowns. Because again, 3 for 3, 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns, and really Monken seems to know how to scheme him open pretty well. So it's cool that he's kind of, I don't want to say reserve, because I would like to see him get a little more time. I don't know when, but maybe 4 wide sets. That'd be nice. Yeah, I am just really impressed with him. And I mean, even Tylan Wallace too. Like, he made some pretty big plays today. And it seemed that the focus was obviously going to Flowers, who still ate, and Bateman, who I don't want to say was non-existent, but he was doing his thing. He was being one of the better separators in the NFL and route running. So I'm sure there was a little love coming his way too. Marlowe, get on the jugs machine, dude. Get on the jugs machine. That thing hits you in your hands, and then you kind of just hot potato it to the offensive player. That was a rough thing. Procedural issues kind of have affected right before the half, or right after the half, I should say. 3 points instead of 7. You don't really love to see that in the second half. It's not nearly as bad as it was last year, but penalties are a pretty big issue. Not issue. Penalties are there more than I'd like to see. Hopefully that gets cleaned up and it doesn't continue to be a trend like last year. The backup tackles, more on the Browns. Let me stop glazing the Ravens. More on the Browns. I mean, their young guys look great. Schlesinger looked awesome again. I mean, obviously in run support, all those boys. Mason Graham had a bunch of plays in the backfield. Fannin obviously looks good. Simpson looks good. Judkins looked good. Judkins looked really, really solid. So I think this might be a franchise change. I know it's the Browns, but I think this might be a franchise changing draft class, to be quite honest, because man, it's pretty, what's this? Sorry. It's pretty impressive what they're doing, to be quite honest. I mean, half the class looks great, and then who knows what the other guys will turn into. I mean, you got Dylan Gabriel who came in, and I mean, who knows, maybe he'll get, it seems like he's wide receiver 2 entrenched. Sanders is probably scout team or whatever. I'm not entirely sure what he's got going on, or maybe Gabriel is, but not that I even need to bring that up, because he's a 5th round pick. And then, I mean, if you didn't want the Ravens to pick you, man, in the 5th round, and you told them no, like, who knows how many other teams that might have happened with. That's a speculation. I'm not acting like Shador. Just a bad look is all I'm gonna leave it at that. The Browns defense, obviously, as I mentioned at the top, legit. It's unfortunate that Ward was in and out with his Achilles tightness or cramping or something. I don't know what it was. Hopefully he can kind of return to form, and not return to form, but just get healthy, because he's one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL. Denzel Ward is an unbelievable cornerback and arguably the best in the league. I just asked Jamar Chase. He's seen a lot of corners, and he says Denzel Ward's the best that he's gone up against. But yeah, so the defense looked great. Delpit, got to give it to him. He came in and filled when he had to, and again, they held Derrick Henry to probably his lowest total in several years. Flacco looked good. You don't really want him throwing the ball 45 times a game, but once you get down a couple touchdowns, and unfortunately kind of got to claw your way back in. Again, all the rookies look good on the Browns. If you can get the quarterback situation, I mean, talent's never been an issue in Cleveland, to be quite honest. They've had some of the more talented rosters. I think they've had a top 10 defense the past, 4 or 5 years. Like, talent hasn't been the issue. It's just been the quarterback. Obviously, the wide receiver core isn't great now, but when they had OBJ and Jarvis Landry, and it's not like Amari Cooper. It's not like they didn't have talent over the past years. And then, yeah, their defense is always great because you have the best defensive player in the NFL. So if they can figure out that quarterback thing and maybe get another couple weapons, obviously line's going to be super important. Their offensive line, their backup tackles kind of help break the game wide open, to be quite honest. So offensive line and some weapons. Maybe next year their entire draft will be offensive. But, I mean, they got 2 first-round picks, so who knows what quarterback's coming out. I don't know. I've always thought the Browns were a very talented team, and they're the least talented they've been in a bunch of years. I don't know. I like the Browns. You kind of want to root for the underdog, and they've been the underdog since their inception. What else? What else do I got? I don't really like how Keaton Mitchell wasn't used. Henry had some success on those outside runs, and I think Keaton Mitchell's speed is an element that just isn't involved whatsoever. No offense to Derrick Henry or Justice Hill, but Keaton Mitchell has that special like H-hand speed. I don't know. Otherwise, I'm pretty pleased. What, a 30-point win, 20-point win. Week 2, look good. Can't complain. They stopped the run. Cool. They threw for a bunch, and that's one of the better defenses in the NFL. Especially, I mean, just watch how they played. I think Ricard might help quite a bit when he comes back, but other than that, can't really complain. Ravens did what they were supposed to do. Bengals, Jags. I understand that Joe Burrow holds onto the ball a lot, but no, that's information that's readily available in the Cincinnati Bengals organization. Get that guy an offensive line. It's unbelievable. I mean, and I know I may have been the first. Who gives a fuck? But Andrew Luck, you're just staring at the comparison. I think I saw something. Andrew Luck was hit 180, 170 something times. Joe Burrow's been hit 200 and something times in his career up into the same point. And Joe Burrow missed a season, or the majority of a season. Actually, a couple seasons now. He's probably missed a full season with all of his injury designations. So I don't know, man. Their offensive line looked awful. And yeah, the Jags have a pretty solid defensive line, but you got to protect your franchise guy. He's in his prime right now, and sometimes that goes quicker than you think. And it's been 6 or 7 years now. That's my biggest takeaway from this game, is that you have to protect Joe. Like, maybe trade T for a tackle or something. Or I hate the Bengals, but I love Joe Burrow, and it's just sad seeing kind of what's going on. Like, honestly, because it's unnecessary. And then, so yeah, everyone was saying, look at Jamar Chase, but look at Penei Sewell. You don't think he couldn't use a Penei Sewell? And they drafted Higgins in the second round. Like, it looks like they can draft wide receivers. Obviously, Jamar Chase is arguably the best offensive player in the NFL, especially if you don't add quarterbacks in there. So, like, it's him, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley. Like, that's what we're talking about with Jamar Chase. But Burrow's been out most of his career. He gets knocked out of every season for at least a chunk of time. And it's, again, can't stress this enough. Partly his fault, partly the organization's fault. But more importantly, it's the organization's fault, because it's just get an offensive line. Like, it's very difficult. I understand. I'm not. But, and it's not that you haven't tried, Bengals. Something's wrong with whoever. You got to get new scouts for offensive line, or new offensive line coach. I don't understand. I don't get it. But I mean, the Bengals offense looked great outside of like a couple miscues. The Bengals offense looked fine. Even when Browning did enter the game, the Bengals offense even though Browning aside, the Bengals offense looked good. He did throw 3 picks. So Bengals offense looked good. Death taxes and Jamar Chase. And so what I was saying with Jamar Chase, I love Jamar Chase. I think he's one of the best offensive weapons. And it's a catch-22. You choose Chase, you get death taxes and Jamar Chase against man in the red zone. That touchdown, what do you do as a cornerback? Okay, cool. I can't give him outside leverage. I can't give him inside leverage, because obviously he'll do exactly what he did on that play, but it's wild. Yeah, I mean, the Bengals defense, they were opportunistic. I mean, the Jags scored a bunch on them, but they did. It looks like it's going to be a better unit. Not that that's saying much than last year, but it's still going to be pretty tough on defense here. And did I see Bengals injury report? Well, yeah, obviously Joe Burrow injury. Shamar Stewart with an ankle. That's not good. He missed a lot of time. He's looked solid against the run. Obviously, pass rush, and he needs to learn. He needs to learn quite a bit. Cam Taylor-Britt with a hamstring, and then Logan Wilson with an ankle. Limited to participants. That's not great. It is against the Minnesota Vikings, but that's more for the. But yeah, so that defense. Obviously, I digress. That defense is very interesting. And then the Jags, the Jags kind of threw this one away. Trevor Lawrence looked good, but not, again, I feel like I say this every week. He looked solid, but not generational, the next one, Peyton Manning level. So that was not disheartening, but it's when is he gonna when is he gonna do his when is he gonna get it together and play at the level that he's capable of? Because he can do literally everything, and you see that. You see that at times, but then unfortunately he has just crazy middling play and bad play. It's less consistent than it was last season, but it's still more consistent than it needs to be. Jags defense looked good again, minus obviously not good. I shouldn't say that because they got scored on quite a bunch and obviously gave up a lead that they had. And yeah, so maybe they didn't play good. There were spurts where they looked good. There were spurts where they looked good, but other than that, there were spurts where it looked good, but other than that, it wasn't. I don't know. The second Burrow went down, I was like, oh, Jags got this in the game. I don't know how Cincinnati came back and won. I watched the game. I understand how, but it's not a good look for Jacksonville. Their receivers look great. They look like they have a bunch of pass catchers that can make plays, which is awesome. So maybe if they can kind of figure things out, get a little bit better at all phases, and not kicking because Little's a dog, but yeah, maybe they can get a little bit better. But I wasn't super impressed with the Jags. I was impressed early, and then it kind of had a collapse late. Obviously, the Bengals won, and if you throw 3 interceptions, to win a game after throwing 3 interceptions is pretty rare and wild. Next up, I got the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants. That game was bananas. That game was like pure cinema, as that meme is. 55 on the Giants. Let me get his name. He cost him a touchdown just being dumb. I think he was the guy that went viral for head smacking somebody. Bear with me. James Hudson the third. Pretty funny. The head smack, but he did cost him. He cost him quite a bit, at least a touchdown. Russell Wilson seems to love Wan'Dale Robinson, which, he's making plays. Wan'Dale looks the best he's ever looked in his entire career, though Malik Neighbors needs a little bit more burn. I know he goes in spurts with feeding him and not, but man, and it's hard to just feed him because he's getting bracketed the whole game, but I don't know. Russell Wilson looked great. Obviously, I gotta shout him out because last week I was pretty not bummed about him, but it's like, come on, dude, what are you fucking doing? You don't look very good, and you should look. Their offensive line is also pretty bad, but yeah, that's besides the point. Their offensive line doesn't look great. It's definitely time for him to. It's definitely time for Andrew Thomas to come back. They need it. They need him desperately. Yeah, Russell Wilson had, let's just pull up his stat line real quick. 30? He was 30 for 41, 450 yards. Granted, he did have overtime, but 450 yards, averaged 11 for the 3 touchdowns. He did have an interception. He did take 3 sacks. His passer rating was 123, so obviously a huge upgrade from the 59 last week. Yeah, he just played. It was crazy. Him and Dak both were just fucking slinging it, balling. It was a proper shootout. What did the end score end up being? The stuff that would be nice to have for 40-37. I think it was Brandon Aubrey. The score ended up being 40-37. Dallas Cowboys. It was a great game. Both teams had multiple opportunities to kind of take this game, and Dallas obviously capitalized because I think it went pretty deep into overtime, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it was very short. Sometimes it's like, okay, cool, they score quick, whatever. But this definitely wasn't one of those games. Cowboys defense looks like they need a pass rusher, unfortunately, which is probably why they got Jadeveon Clowney, right? So picked him up. Maybe the trade, we won't know the trade. We won't know the ramifications of the trade until like 2, 3, 4 years from now, because we need to see what players they get for those picks. And the last time Jerry and Dallas did this, it led them to multiple Super Bowls. So I know I'm like, oh, how the fuck could he let Micah Parsons walk out the window, or door? We don't know how bad of a fuck up it is yet, because we don't know who they're going to select. We don't know what players they're going to turn that into. But the early returns of getting rid of one of the best defensive players in the NFL, who certainly looked it the past few weeks for the Packers, are definitely felt, which again is why they picked up Jadeveon Clowney. So is what it is. Can't really can't really complain too much when you trade away one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Definitely one of the best young defensive players in the NFL. He's a absolute animal. But yeah, both defenses, the Giants kind of flexed early, and that D-line looked pretty nuts against that young offensive line, especially because I think a couple guys went out on that Cowboys offensive line. But it looked great. It's just kind of the secondary obviously for the Giants. And obvious spurts where Jamal Williams kind of he's looked great, man. I love that for him. He in North Carolina, he was fucking awesome. And I think him and Michael Carter, if I remember correctly. Just the UM game alone, but it's really cool. Not Jamal Williams. What am I saying? Javonte Williams. Jesus Christ. Forgive me, Javonte Williams. Jamal Williams was with the Lions. Saints, and I don't know if he's currently in the NFL, but Jesus, Javonte Williams. He's been. Yeah, Javonte Williams has just been fucking awesome this year. I can't believe. I mean, maybe he just needed some time to get healthy, like truly healthy. He had a pretty serious injury a couple years back, and maybe he just, Rodgers looks much better this year, and sometimes it takes a couple years to get going. But yeah, Javonte Williams looked great, and with him and Michael Carter and University of North Carolina, I think they didn't set the record, but like yards after contact, they just were tackle breakers. Look at the University of Miami game alone. That was when I had to almost renounce my fandom for the University of Miami because it was one of the more embarrassing displays by defense. But also Javonte Williams and Michael Carter were dogs. But yeah, Javonte Williams, I love what's going on kind of with his career in Dallas because he's just had a resurgence, and it's been great to see. I mean, there's not really much else I can kind of talk about with this. You guys, Dak played well. Both defenses got 30 burgers, 40 burgers on their head. I mean, pretty much a 40 burger which is more of an indictment, I'd say, on Dallas because Dallas, like the Cowboys are going to have an incredible offense all year, and I think they're going to be great. But the Giants just played the Commanders, and like they looked inept and unable to do much of anything. And the Cowboys, 37 points. Russell Wilson looks better than he ever did in Seattle. Or like, honestly, that probably, if you took away that interception, that'd probably be one of Russell Wilson's like top games. That, because he played it was wild, just unbelievable. But yeah, so I think this game's more of an indictment on the Dallas Cowboys defense than anything. Because if the Giants can score 37 on you, I'm going to assume you're not the best defense, and the Eagles didn't really try to score on them last week. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited to see more games to see where Dallas or what Dallas can possibly be this year. Excuse me. Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears. The Lions lined again. It seems that reporter last week that asked if what's changed, why aren't they motioning, why aren't they doing this, why aren't they doing that? It seems like MCDC looked at the tape and was like, yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? But then it seems like he was wrong. Seems like that reporter can take a victory lap because a lot of motion. Offense looked unstoppable. They scored 50. They scored 50 points. Even 35, 40 is like, holy shit, you had a good offensive day. 57, I think it was. 57 points. Let's see. Yeah, 50. Not 57. Jesus, I gave him 5 extra points. 52. Amon-Ra was going. Gibbs was going. Monty was going. The whole Laporta looked good outside of some blocking reps. But they looked incredible. They looked like they did last year. They looked like the brand new Lions, as the Pat McAfee show and the boys would say on there. They looked unbelievable on offense. The defense did start out rough. I'm not going to lie. Caleb looked he looked good. I don't understand where this is. Like, get rid of him. Ben Johnson doesn't want him. Ben Johnson. Caleb looked good, and he didn't do what he's been doing his entire career, which is acting a fool and throwing the ball every which way and trying to play hero ball. And it seems like he's really getting a better understanding of how to play on time, how to play on schedule, but then also know when to, because that's the biggest thing for him. He just needs to learn how to play on time and how to play on schedule, but also still not lose like the Caleb Williams. His comp was Pat Mahomes. And you see some of those plays, you're like, holy shit, he's making a couple plays here and he's faster than I anticipated. Again, like I said last week, is he going to be able to continue to do the USC stuff? Yeah, he can do that, but he's also shown that he's learning to play in a system, and I don't know. maybe I don't know what I'm watching and all that type of stuff, but I don't understand the sky is falling for Caleb Williams and he's the biggest bust in NFL history or whatever the fuck Bears fans and other people are saying about Caleb. I think he looks fine, man. He looked good on the first drive. He looked good on the second drive. I don't understand where that's coming from. So the Lions run defense kind of took a little bit to get going, but after that they definitely started shutting down Swift. It seemed like the game wasn't chippy because it's not comparable when the Lions are going, but it was super curious to see that people outside of Jared Goff were like actually pissed off that Ben Johnson left to a rival. I know Amon Ross said something. It was interesting. I didn't think they cared that much, truthfully. Not that players don't care that much, but I didn't think that I mean, offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators leave to go to play for other teams all the time. I don't understand what it is the Bears, but they're not like a good team. And they haven't ever been a good team. They're not they're your rival by division, but they're not your rival in that division. It's Minnesota. It's Minnesota or I mean now Green Bay it looks like, but I don't understand that. But hey, it's not me. I'm not on the team, so I can't speak to what the hell is going on there. I don't know, man. I didn't Ben Johnson, it looks like he started doing some QB power, which is cool. Not that I want to be running the quarterback but using it sparingly. It's looks like he's been wanting an athletic quarterback for a while. No slight to Goff. Goff's a great quarterback, but it helps when you have that extra. You can do kind of the things that Goff did, but then also not that Caleb can yet, but he's showing that he's at least learning or trying to. But being able to have that athleticism in there is pretty legit. Brian Branch, have a game, brother. You made a bunch of incredible plays throughout the night. And I mean, fourth down stops, fumbles, forced fumbles, just, I don't know. He's Kyle Hamilton, him and Antoine Winfield are like the best at their whatever roles you want to call them, safety, slot, nickel. They're just unbelievable players. Hutch seems to be returning to form a little bit, which is good to see. He kind of forced an errant throw to Joseph. He got Caleb out of the pocket and was chasing a little bit, and there was another guy, but Hutch is the reason why Caleb left the pocket and kind of forced a throw, which Joseph capitalized on. Tisla. Forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, but that catch was incredible on the sideline. Got to shout that out. Both lines for the Lions also looked much improved. The offensive line looked like they did last year, and then the defensive line, obviously, 21 points to their 52, did well. Definitely did well. Jalen Johnson is out. It sounds like for the season. That's a tough loss. He's one of the best corners in the NFL, and it's just a bummer that he's going to be done. It sounds like for the rest of the year. So we'll see how the Bears can kind of like stick and move with that. But I mean, shit, losing your number one corner week 2 isn't really a good thing. I don't know where you go from there. And obviously, after he went out, their defense kind of looked a little bit lost in the secondary. So unfortunately for them, yeah. Oh, one of the craziest things that I read this week. Goff has an 80% completion percentage. And I understand it's only been 2 weeks, but that's fucking bananas. That's like one of the craziest stats. There was a list of quarterback stats and all that type of stuff, and it was like, oh, well, Daniel Jones is the number one quarterback in the NFL according to these metrics, because he's been balling out. That'll be more on that in a minute, but Goff has an 80% completion percentage. That's unfucking believable. Kyle Shanahan wishes he's ever had a quarterback with an 80% completion percentage for 2 games. I mean, Purdy's not far off, but man, Jared Goff, you're definitely not a bad quarterback and maybe fringe elite quarterback, because that's really fucking hard to do. 80% completion percentage. Hats off, sir. Hats off. Ooh, that was hats off, sir. Dolphins, Pats. Just watch this game. The Dolphins defense looks pretty bad, and their linebacker play was kind of abysmal. Gump on the Pat McAfee show, Bubba Gumpino on Twitter, he was saying that they're not playing Willie Gay for whatever reason. I don't understand why. I didn't see him really in it at all. At 25, I think that's Dodson. I saw some lack of effort plays in the run game. He just gets washed away by offensive linemen. And it's not like the Patriots have some elite crazy. It's not like it's like the Eagles of last year getting him washed in the run game. And it's like, well, sorry, Landon Dickerson and, like not Jason Kelsey, Juergens and all the boys, like, Mekhi Becton, sorry, they got a hold of you. It's the Pats definitely don't have that style of offensive line, so it's concerning, man. I mean, the defense looks awful. The offense did get it going, which was pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. They're so fucking explosive. It's wild. It is wild how fast and explosive their team is. Chan had I think it was just like a quick in-breaking route, or even just like a fucking go from the slot and caught it immediately, touchdown. Because it's, what do you do? What do you do when someone runs a 4.41 40 or whatever the fuck, 4.2 40, whatever he ran? Yeah, it was before the half, but man, it's like, okay, cool. And then Tyreek looks to be back. It looks like the offense looked much improved. When Tua has time, he's doing what he's doing. Obviously, there was a throw, I think it was in the first half, where if he had a little bit more arm, Tyreek would have scored for a touchdown because he had the guys gassed, or he just flew by him. So Tyreek turns out still is fast. One of the early plays, actually, I think that was on the Pats with Bradley Chubb. So I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I don't know. It's still an explosive offense, but their defense, man, is just, there's nothing you can do about that. The Pats, who knows? Drake may look great. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's not like they have a Lions or a Bills or a Ravens or like I guess the Rams haven't really even been that explosive. I guess Packers, I don't know. They don't have like some crazy offense, and their line definitely needs some help, or they don't have a crazy defense. Yeah, they don't have a crazy offense. And I mean, Drake May was moving the ball up and down the field. Their defense just scares me, and it makes sense because they got rid of Jalen Ramsey. Minka Fitzpatrick, didn't really see him show up at all. I actually kind of forgot that he's on the Dolphins until right now. Wildly enough, I just don't know. Don't see I mean, they're 0-2. Mike McDaniels is being snarky as ever, which that's fine when you're winning, but when you're not, it's kind of rough. I'm not very high on this team. Quite frankly, they just don't look like a team. Especially, I mean, I guess I should just say with the caveat on defense, they just don't look like a team that, I don't want to say cares, but it's a lot's changed in the past year. And again, not even that they looked anything different last year, because it looked unenthused and they weren't a good team last year either. But yeah, not really that big of a deal, because I don't think McDaniel's going to make it through the year, and hopefully they get rid of Greer too, because he hasn't really done anything either. Now on the flip side, the Pats running the ball down the throat of the Dolphins for quite a bit of the afternoon, especially the first like several drives. It was funny. They really enjoyed the run game. The tight ends, he came back. I think it's called a wham block. Hunter Henry came back on a wham block for Chubb, and I don't understand. And it was a long developing play as well. And it's like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? McDaniel, you're putting your tight end in a fucking terrible spot. But two, it's like, obviously Henry's not going to do well in that situation. So that was head scratching. But other than that, Drake May looked good. I mean, it seems like the run game really settles him down, because when it's with anybody, you could make an argument that the run game settles Lamar down, or used to settle Lamar down. When you look at younger quarterbacks, I mean, look at Justin Herbert as well for this year. Their run game wasn't nearly as effective last year, and this year he looks. It's granted, yeah, that's a whole different thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I was impressed with Drake May. I thought he played really, really, really well. I was impressed with just his decision making. He was very decisive, which has been an issue of his. He's kind of been like, "Oh, what do I do? What do I do? Okay, I'll do it." It's been an issue of his as of just in his career. Like, you see these crazy plays and you're like, "Holy fuck!" But then he'll also be like, "Oh, I'm super indecisive," and not make not make a catastrophic mistake like Will Levis, but not make the correct play, not make the correct read, not do this and that, and not take the yards that the defense will give him. Seems like their interior offensive line is getting a little bit better, which there were multiple instances where Drake May was able to step up in the pocket, which is probably nice for him, because obviously when you have two, I mean, Chop Robinson's great, Bradley Chubb's great, Jalen Phillips is great. That's a hell of a rotation and they're all healthy, which has been their biggest issue. But that's a hell of a rotation to have to go up against as a quarterback and not be able to step up in the pocket. That would just be meat at the quarterback. Kayshon Boutte, or Butte or however you pronounce his last name, he's definitely their wide receiver number one. He's been their best receiving option in my opinion, as far as the Pats go. And I think last year I saw he was one of the leaders in separation. I think he was in like top 10. So maybe top 15 if I remember correctly. And he just looks good, man. And he catches the ball. He's kind of looking like he did at LSU, and I'm happy for him. It's been a long road, and he's starting to kind of ball out and achieve what he's capable of, because he's always been an incredibly talented. I mean, he was incredibly talented at LSU. The only reason why he didn't get much burn there is because of, like Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., or if I'm trying to think of his generation, was that Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson? It could have been. So it's like, it's not necessarily his fault, or he overlapped both of them, which it's like, if you overlap Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, like if you have all of those guys and you have to battle for them, and then obviously Kyron Lacy, rest in peace, like him too. Like LSU just got stud after stud after stud. But Kayshon Boutte, I really enjoy the fact that he's finally starting to be the guy that he's that talented, man. I love seeing him kind of take over that. Even from Diggs, I'd take over that wide receiver one role in New England. Tyreek Hill is back. He had I know the stat was circulating on social where the viral stat, Tyreek Hill hasn't had a 30 over a 30-yard reception for, it was a long time. I don't remember the exact amount of days, or I think it was days, but it was like a couple years that it is longer than you'd expect someone who's that fast to do that. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the Pats kicker's concerning. That's definitely, he missed a bunch of attempts. So probably going to have a new guy in New England here soon. I don't think they last very long, kickers, especially when they're bad. Okay. So I didn't watch the Saints-San Fran game, the Mac Jones resurgence, and I'm just realizing that now. I mean, I saw highlights, but I'm not going to act like I know exactly what was going on. The Niners did exactly what they were supposed to do. Yeah, I didn't watch the Saints 49ers, it seems, and really much of the Jets Bills. I watched a little bit through Red Zone, but not enough to talk about it. So I'm just going to skip on to the Steelers Seahawks game. I would say both of their rivals, but just the Seahawks for San Fran. Seattle kind of just controlled this entire game. They established the run early, and they just continued running away from TJ Watt. They did have some success towards him, but it's pretty, I don't think I've ever seen a Pittsburgh Steelers defense like this in my lifetime. So it's pretty alarming. I'm sure the Yinzers over there are quite concerned about kind of how the Steelers team looks, especially defensively, because I mean, you'd think that the offense would take time to get going, right? It's a bunch of new pieces, specifically at quarterback. I mean, the defense is a bunch of new pieces as well, but I figured that they would kind of hit the ground running, and you're adding Jalen Ramsey, who's made a bunch of splash plays thus far. Jalen Ramsey in there and Darius Slay. These are vets, so it's and I'm not saying they're the reason why the defense isn't good right now, because they both have made plays. I'm just saying it's really interesting watching this team and them just not. I mean, Seattle pretty much controlled this entire game, and then Seattle's defense held Pittsburgh's offense substantially throughout the day. I think there were just a bunch of kicks and a touchdown here or there, and hell, they got Rodgers in the end zone for a pick, So I think it was who was it? I forget what, Calvin Austin tipped it straight to the Seattle defender. Darnold had a pick too. It was whatever. He was a little late, but at the end of the day, Ramsey just did what Ramsey does. He jumped the route and came away with the ball. Seems, outside of like that play and a couple others, it seems like when you marry the run and the pass, Pittsburgh, that's really what gets the defense in a blender, because obviously they're really struggling to stop the run. It's not news to them. They're week in, week out, they're watching their shit get kicked in by the Jets and the Seahawks and whoever is up next. So they know what's going on. So I feel like the pass is a little bit easier because they're so concerned with stopping the run. Ramsey again keeps making hits where it's just dislodging them, like, and if they ever get into a position to where they need that play done, like look what he did against the Jets week 1, but he just continues to make these game-changing plays. Unfortunately for them, it didn't really affect the game too much outside of that play. And yeah, Kenneth Walker looks great. That's more on the Pittsburgh's defense looking like Dog shit. Kenneth Walker looks fantastic. He looks like he did in college. I think it's just because he's fully healthy. I think that might have always been. He's always been kind of nicked, and the last couple of years, it's like, oh no, it's concerning because he's getting up there, not up there in age, but up there in contract. He needs to play. So I feel like maybe that I'm speculating here. I'm just talking out of my ass. I don't want to talk about Kenneth Walker and all that type of stuff of the speculation, but he looks great. He looks like he's finally healthy. He looks like as explosive as he did in college, if not maybe a little bit more. And it's awesome to see him. And I mean, who knows? Maybe Charbonnet kind of put a little fire under his ass. He was complacent watching him be the bell cow, and he was getting hurt and stuff. And now he's watching Charbonnet kind of. I mean, last week Charbonnet kind of took the role away from him as far as like. I like McDonald's feeding the hot hand, and Charbonnet made some nice plays, but Walker was the hot hand on Sunday, and I think that's going to continue with kind of keeping them both engaged, right? It's like, okay, well, shit, now he's balling. I need to do better. I'm sure we'll hear an interview at some point throughout the year, maybe through Seattle's media team about those two kind of competing. But yeah, Walker looks great. Charbonnet looked good. Seattle might have the stingiest defense in the NFL. It just seems like it's 2023 Ravens all over again. Sure, you can get some yards, but you're not scoring a touchdown, which is awesome because that was Mike McDonald's bread and butter. That was Mike Mack's bread and butter. That's what he got hired for and all that type of stuff. So it's cool to see him get his guys like Ernest Jones. That really solidified the defense last year. And then obviously Witherspoon, DeMarcus Lawrence coming over. Leonard Williams has been there for a while. It's been really cool watching that defense kind of evolve. And like I said in week one, the second year is when the Ravens went from like, holy fuck, this defense is good to like, second, third year. Third year was the holy shit, this might be one of the greatest defenses of all time. Unfortunately, they didn't do anything with it, but that's neither here nor there. Their new fullback, Oots, I believe his name was, he got a double pancake on two linebackers, and he just kind of caught Peyton Wilson. It's the dichotomy of the Steelers' run defense this year. He pancaked Peyton Wilson as well as Patrick Queen. Shout out PQ. Grass isn't always greener, is it, brother? Just fucking around. I'm not on the Ravens. I don't care. And neither do the Ravens. Yeah. Oots double pancake blocked a body. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Wilson. It was Wilson because it was 41. If I remember correctly, Herbig, I believe doesn't wear number 41, but Seahawks might need to start looking at a new kicker. That was another thing that I was pretty concerned with. If the Steelers offense got anything going more than they did, Myers might have cost them the game. And I think another issue with the Steelers, especially this week, is your defense isn't good. Settling for three doesn't work like it used to. I know that's what you did last year and the year before and all that type of stuff. And it works well when you have an elite defense. So far this season, I'm sure they'll round out into form, at least to be a top of the middle top of the pack, top of the middle pack, like 10 to 8 to 15. I'm sure they'll end up there even after these bad weeks. But yeah, it's not, you just can't settle for three and hope your defense gets the stop and then you can get another 3 points, because Seattle just took advantage of that this game. Like, yeah, it was kick, field goal outside of that quick touchdown in the first quarter, I believe. But outside of like a couple scores, or not outside of a couple scores, for the Steelers, it's like the second you get a score, and they were in the red zone and stuff. And I don't know, you have Aaron Rodgers, maybe go for it. I know Tomlin's philosophy for the longest time has been like, just take the points. Our defense can get us, but you're going to need to start scoring touchdowns the way this defense is playing. In summary, the Seahawks look great. They looked much better than they did last. I mean, they looked good last week, but they looked like they're starting to figure a bunch of things out on offense. And then the Steelers might be concerning if they don't right the ship pretty quickly as far as their defense goes. And I don't know. It's just a tough look, especially with all the guys holding out. They had Cam Hayward hold out for a little bit. They had TJ Watt obviously hold out quite a bit because they needed to be paid. And I don't know, maybe that whole thing just doesn't work with with the Bengals. Maybe that's why they're a little rusty, it seems. But who knows? The Steelers are still the Steelers. They'll probably end up being a team you don't really want to play. And then the Seahawks look great, and they look still a little bit away from challenging the rest of that division. Well, I mean, I don't even want to say the rest of that. Yeah, the rest of the division. I can say that because the Niners and the Rams are are pretty legit. The Niners look good, and they're missing everybody. So if they look halfway decent now, once they get Kittle back, once they get Ayuk back, once they get like literally everybody back, they're gonna be just fine. Yeah, Seattle looks good. Next up, Tennessee Titans, Los Angeles Rams. Titans O line needs some help next offseason. That's literally my first note. Maybe they can, like, it's unfair to say that their offensive line isn't good because they played arguably the best defensive line in the NFL. I mean, with Jared Verse, Byron Young, Fisk, and like all the other guys that they have in that rotation, they need to protect Cam because I'll start there. I'll start with Cam. He's as advertised. He's unbelievable, man, and he needs more talent around him. Ayumanor looks really fucking good. Really, really good. He looks like a wide receiver one. I know the stock exchange guys, Connor and Trevor, were kind of losing their mind about the fact on this week's episode of the stock exchange. They were losing their mind that he got selected, I think, in the 4th or the 5th round, which again is I'm not undermining. I completely agree. It's egregious, especially because the guys taken before him. It's early, and it's a sliding scale on when people get good and all that type of stuff. But man, Cam Ward, Ayumanor, however you pronounce it. Sorry for mispronouncing your name if I am. That connection's gonna be legit, and I'm really excited for it for the years to come. I mean, he's a problem, man. Cam Ward is. I saw a meme saying he's doing everything Will Levis is doing, but everything's working, which was really funny, which is kind of true. But yeah, he's just unbelievable in all accounts. He's a leader. He's holding guys accountable, even like Jeffrey Simmons and shit, like vets who are great at what they do. He's as advertised. He's an elite, as advertised from the Titans front office. He's an elite talent, and I just it's wild how many young quarterbacks there are that are just going to be. I mean, it might be the deepest ever I've ever seen as far as quarterback play, but maybe I'll do a podcast on that if in the off season and whatnot. But that's just an idea for later. Yeah, can't really complain about Cam Ward. Honestly, he's doing everything he should be doing, and his receivers aren't hindering him as bad this week as they did last week. But yeah, it's been awesome. We got to free Jeff Simmons. I know he loves the Titans and he loves that organization, but like, come over to Baltimore, brother, or go somewhere where you can actually chase a chip. That was thrown away by the previous regime when they traded AJ Brown and got rid of Mike Vrabel. Or I guess it's the same regime, but you know what I mean. I just hate to see him wither away. Not wither away because he's still an incredibly dominant player, but I just hate to see him not, like, get him out of there, man. He's way too dominant of a player to not be chasing Super Bowls. And who knows? Maybe the Ravens pick him up. Fucking Howie and the Eagles will probably pick him up at some point because he doesn't like what the boys are doing. But it's I don't want to say sad because he's a multimillionaire, but it's just unfortunate that he's kind of stuck there because he's got a big contract, and even though his play hasn't dropped really at all, he's kind of stuck there. But yeah, I already touched on Iron Manor. The Titans defense is that's another thing. So now next with Simmons, the Titans defense, man, they don't have very much talent at all, like anywhere outside of like Jeff Simmons and Snead, but they look good, man. Let me see. I think it's Denard Wilson, Titans defensive coordinator. I should know this. Yeah, Denard Wilson. He's got them boys. If they can get some talent, he might be one of the better defensive coordinators in the NFL. I mean, we saw last year, the first after he left the Ravens and went to become the defensive coordinator here. You saw what happened there, and he's doing a lot with little talent. So I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll get some head coaching jobs in the next couple of years, or head coaching looks, I should say. But they don't really have a bunch of talent on that defense, but they all play well. They all play sound. Communication seems to be really key, and I mean, they're just solid. Yeah, Barton. Yeah, I forgot about that. The Barton pick. He picks off Stafford. This game was closer than it needed to be for the Rams. Yeah, Barton picks off Stafford, and Ward gets them in field goal range. That's right. That was the exchange of field goals right before the half. And I mean, talk about not pressure, but like Cam Ward again. Barton picks him off. Yes, it was some favorable field position, but Barton picks him off. Ward gets him right in field goal range, 3 points before the half. That's like vet shit. You know what I mean? For Ward. And then Barton too. So I know he's a cast off, I believe, of Denver, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, Their defense looks good. The Adam Sneed's matchup, Devontae Adams versus L'Jarius Sneed was a pretty solid matchup. I think Adams kind of got the best of him today, but it was a dogfight, man. It was a really fun one to watch in the All-22. Definitely a good time. Who else? Corum looked really good. I didn't even really talk about the Rams. Last thing I'll say about the Titans is, like, if you turn those field goals into touchdowns, Titans are going to be pretty feisty in the up and coming years. As for the Rams, Stafford looks like Stafford. Puka's unbelievable. The Rams defense did all they could to make Cam Ward as uncomfortable as possible. What I really liked about that one run by Puka, and I could be wrong about this, I could be seeing things that I'm not, but I feel like that Puka jet motion touchdown that they had on that fourth down, I feel like they ran pretty much the same play, but gave the dive to the running back. And that's kind of what created the space and helped create the space. Obviously, Puka did Puka things and ran it in for a touchdown. I feel like that was a moment where McVay kind of teased him with a play and then used it entirely different, which is what he does, what he's always done. Devontae Adams started to get going this game. It makes sense because he doesn't have to mess around the kill zone, because I think that's kind of what he's doing in their offense. He's over the middle of the field, all that type of stuff. So I think he kind of took a G day on the Texans game. He caught some, but I think that was saving him for the rest of the season, because it's not that he doesn't like to get hit specifically. No one wants to run over the middle of the field with that Texans defense, which is exactly why they play that way. Defensive line was dominant. Corum looks real good. It looks like him and Kyron Williams are going to be a really, really nice 1-2 punch. Puka, Adams, defense just did what they were supposed to do, So on that point that I made with the Titans, and if they turn those field goals and the points, well, there's a reason why, and that was just the defense. They were stingy in the red zone, and they look like exactly how they should at this point in the year, and they're 2-0, so that's pretty legit. They still look like a class of the NFC. They haven't had that dominant game like some of the other teams might have had. Them and the Eagles both. They haven't really had that dominant game, but I mean, the Rams were 3 plays away from going to the Super Bowl last year and beating the most dominant team in the NFL. So Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers. Yeah, Titans and the Rams. It was a better game. I didn't know if it was going to be a good game, because the Rams might have just kind of controlled everything, but it was a better game than I anticipated. So it was a good watch. I enjoyed it. I didn't watch 3 games this week. I'm slacking. I watched the Cardinals and the Panthers because I'm good on that. The Colts and the Broncos. Is Daniel Jones the MVP of the league? He's leading it in yards, I believe. Let's see. QB stats 2025. Player stats, passing stats. Yeah, Russell Wilson. No, so he's not leading the league, but he's second in the league in passing yards. He's up there in completion percentage. Yeah, 71% completion percentage, which is great. 2 touchdowns. 111 passer rating. All right, that's 2 advanced stats than I need. But yeah, Daniel Jones has been kind of playing lights out. It's been the story of this Colts season so far. The offensive line looks better. I guess I didn't really know. I'm going to hand up. I didn't know what I was talking about last week. I guess the offensive line looked pretty good. I thought the run game didn't look obviously not nearly as good as this week, but I guess the offensive line, I was wrong last week. They were pretty solid. This week they looked again pretty good. The interior could use a little work, but overall the offensive line looked great. Jonathan Taylor looked great. The Broncos drive, for their first drive, looked pretty solid, and Dobbins looks legit. He was getting some good chunks, and then the Colts defense just kind of kept it. I mean, it was scoring by the Colts. The Colts look like one of the better teams in the AFC, to be honest, as it sits right now, obviously. But I mean, they look better than the Bengals. They look better than, well, granted, Joe Burrow was out, so that's not necessarily fair, but you know what I mean. Wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Chargers or the Bills, or maybe the Bills. Wouldn't be surprised if they beat this rendition of the Chiefs. But yeah, the Colts and the defense. So another thing too is that the Colts put up a ton of points on. Everyone thought the Denver defense was going to be that was one of the trendier picks for the number 1 defense in the NFL for this year, and nothing changed. They have the same people, So Daniel Dimes being able to. I mean, the blitz. He was great against the blitz with them. It's all. I guess those New York teams just can't develop quarterbacks, or haven't. I don't know what's going on there, because I mean, that's what Dan Jones now, and then the Jets. You got Geno Smith, you got Darnold. Who knows if Zach Wilson goes to KOC's Island of Misfit Toys and becomes significantly better from that. I mean, Carson Wentz. Who fucking knows what he's going to do with him? Jesus. Yeah, it's just really, really awesome to see because I don't know, the Colts are a fun team. I don't know. The NFL is just better when the Colts are good because it's a storied franchise, right? I mean, the Peyton Tom battles back in the day were awesome. It's been sad to see the Colts just shitty. And it's not like the AFC South's any good either. They have the Jags who are awful. The Texans have been the class of that, but I don't know. They don't I don't know. The AFC South just isn't anything crazy. So it's nice to see Xavier Howard at one point. The defense, I mean, their defense looks good. It just looks like they're communicating well and all that type of stuff. DeForest Buckner looks great. Bynum just continues to be awesome. Gotta love his celebrations. Xavier Howard at one point. This is not funny. And it's funny, but it's like Xavier Howard had like 4 penalties right in a row. He was getting ruthlessly tormented by the Broncos offense. Tyler Warren continues to be just, I mean, he might be the best offensive player in this draft, and that is including quarterbacks. I am keeping those people in mind. Actually, no quarterbacks got taken high out of Cam Ward. That is including quarterbacks, though. I think Tyler Warren, I mean, as good as Cam Ward has looked, Tyler Warren is dominant. And I mean, fuck, he's vintage Gronk. Wilder than Gronk, because Gronk was a tight end in line, hand in the dirt. Like, obviously sometimes he was in a 2-point, but like Tyler Warren, he's taking snaps from the backfield. He's doing exactly the type of shit that he did at Penn State. I mean, you can line him up fucking anywhere. You can line him at quarterback and he can throw the ball. Seems to be an amazing. I mean, it's amazing that he even fell that far because he was one of the best players in the draft. And the Colts, I mean, the Bears fucking took Loveland prior, and not even that Loveland's a bad player, but Tyler Warren is just, he's a Sasquatch, as Pat McAfee would say. He's a Sasquatch. He's 6'6". He's just an enormous fucking human being that can catch as good as any receiver in the NFL, and then also block his fucking ass off, like Daryl, or like Washington from the Steelers. Like, it's wild. But yeah, that was a great pick for the Colts. Jonathan Taylor looks unbelievable again. I know I poo-pooed him a little bit last week, being like, oh, Giddings needs more, or Giddings needs more burn. And it's like Jonathan Taylor said, yeah, Jeremy, shut the fuck up. I'm going to have 180 all-purpose yards this week. So I was wrong. Definitely wrong about that. And the offensive line, that's too. Both of the offenses, though, look great. I think Troy Franklin kind of had a day. The Broncos, I mean, him and Bo are keeping their connection going. Dobbins look good. Can't complain about him. Denver's defense looks good too. It's just, I think the Colts might be a buzzsaw. As weird as that sounds, I think the Colts might be a buzzsaw. But yeah, it's wild. This was one of the better games of the week, to be quite honest. There were a lot of really good games this weekend, but this is one of the better games of the week. And I could see both of these. I could see this being a playoff matchup again, because the Colts could easily win the division. The Texans look out of sorts, which more on that in a minute, but I could see them winning the division. And then, I mean, fuck, if the Broncos continue playing like they have, the Chiefs look mortal. Next up, I'll talk about that. But them and the Chargers look like they could easily wrestle this away from the Chiefs. So yeah, I was impressed with both teams. I don't think Denver should be going back bummed that they lost this one, because I think this Colts team might be for real. I don't know when is time to make that distinction. I think they need to play a couple more playoff contenders. Yeah, that Colts team seems pretty fucking legit. At least for now. Last year that was the Saints, but we all know how that ended up. Next up, as we were talking about, Denver potentially taking over that division. Kansas City Chiefs, their defense came out swinging. It was a rock fight to start, just flexing early. No one really could get anything going. Wasn't really impressed by their offense, but the Eagles kind of got going a little bit. They were running the ball and got the passing game going a little bit more this weekend. I think Smith was their leading receiver, and AJ had that crazy catch over the middle, which was just unbelievable that he even caught it. It was a kind of a duck and a bad pass from Hurts, but AJ Brown just one-handed catches it over the middle. One thing I will say about the Chiefs, for their offense, they need faster running backs, man, or just a run game in general. I'm not super impressed with Pacheco or Hunt, as I mentioned last week. It's just, I don't know. Pat, you need to help so we can have the same conversation. And it's not Veach is one of the best GMs in football, and I mean you could argue he's the best because he has three fucking Super Bowls. But you got to put some more weapons around running. Let me rephrase that. You have to put a running back. I think now is the time to put a running back weapon around Pat Mahomes, someone who's fast, right? Like Amari Hampton's looked good so far in the Chargers. Obviously, the Ravens got Derrick Henry. The Eagles, their opposition in this game, got Saquon Barkley. I just think the Chiefs would, if they had a legit running back, or like San Fran with Christian McCaffrey, if they had a legit running back, I just feel like that would help a lot. And because they're paying a bunch of different people, this draft specifically was kind of a good opportunity if they were wise and decided to do that. Unfortunately, they didn't, and they just kind of rolled with what they had from last year. And I mean, Pacheco looks like Pacheco, like he stomps the ground, like he's mad at it. And like, that's cool and all, but you're not really getting much going on offense running the ball. And I feel like that's hindering the pass game with the lack of weapons that they have currently. Cause Worthy's hurt, Rice is out, what are we doing wearing free Rashee Rice shirts? What we're really doing that? Like, and that's also to you, Travis Kelce. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, I understand, like, that's not a funny thing. He was he was recklessly driving, ran into another car and injured multiple people. Like, free Rice? No, dude, he needs to serve a suspension and fucking deal with the consequences. Like, I don't know. That shit just pissed me off. Like, what are we fucking doing? He could have easily turned into Henry Ruggs. Easily. And he's lucky he didn't because he was going 110, 119, 110, whatever. He was going 100 mile an hour, fucking driving on a highway in rush hour traffic. Like, I'm sorry, dude. That's unbelievable that you guys would even think, or you wouldn't squash it being the veteran leader in that locker room, Travis, and be like, yeah, dude, that's not a good idea. Come on. Like, I get it. We want him on the team currently, but he literally could be Henry Ruggs. He could be in jail right now because he fucking killed somebody going that fast and with what he did. So I don't know. That was pretty fucking lame. And then they were kind of just bitching the whole night, to be quite honest. It just seems like, I don't know, something seems off about this Chiefs team. Like, obviously they're 0-2, which is the first time that's happened since I think 2014. And I don't think they made the playoffs that year, but like, obviously they're 0-2. But like, you got last week you had Tranquil and Jones bitching at each other, which Jones went off script, and obviously they scored on, like, I guess that's what ended up happening. Someone reported. And also, quite frankly, the Chiefs defense, it's literally Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie. There's been a slow drip of talent out of there, and I think it's just really starting to show this year. Their secondary doesn't look nearly as good as it once did. I wasn't super impressed with, and I'm not saying that they didn't, like, the Eagles didn't look particularly good on offense. I think Hurts had another like doldrum Sunday, or was that was the Monday Chiefs Eagles? Yeah, that was one of the witching hour games. So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. It's kind of like the Patriots, the Tom Brady Patriots, the Belichick Patriots, where it's like, yeah, I mean, until the clock strikes zero and they're knocked out of the playoffs, they're still gonna be a Super Bowl contender. But something's up, man. And it's also hard to do what they did for as long as they've done it. Like, what, 7 AFC championship appearances, what, 3 out of 5 Super Bowls? That's fucking crazy. That's worth a look up. Forgive me. Chiefs Super Bowl appearances. They've appeared in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so they've been in 5. 2020, 2021, 2023, 2024, 2025. So yeah. So pretty much the past 5 years they've been in the Super Bowl. So yeah, again, the Chiefs might still be the Chiefs. That might be a thing, but I don't know. Something's off. I don't really like the way they're looking right now. As for the Eagles, Nolan Smith, man, I don't think there's anyone that takes on pullers better than that guy. I just love the way he fucking does it, because that puller, he makes them look like they didn't see him coming, and they for sure saw him coming and were like, fuck, Nolan Smith is about to take on this pull. And they just get exactly what happened in the Super Bowl to Trey Smith. He looks really good for a young kid. I think Howie'd again. Makuba looked great. Campbell looks good. He's stepping in right next to Bond and kind of just took that job over. What else did I mean, yeah, everyone's talked about the push thing, or the whatever. whatever you want to call it. Everyone's talked about the tush push thing. I'm not. Are they're offsides? I think simple enough. I just think that it should be officiated properly. They're offsides, and they line up offsides, but they also jump offsides. So it's like, or false start, I should say. Whether it's a false start or an offside, you just got to officiate it properly. Because if you look from top down, like those top down photos are pretty telling. And I believe the helmets need to be at the belt loop, and they're straight up pretty much a fucking couple inches from the ball. So I don't know. It's been talked about. I don't need to add no one cares about my perspective on that matter. I think it shouldn't be banned, but I do think it should be officiated properly. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. I mean, Eagles do whatever they need to do to win, and that's why they win so much, right? That's why they're one of the best teams in the league. So Chiefs, we'll see. It's week 2. 0-2 teams have a pretty bad track record of making it to the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs, so we'll see how that goes. And then the Eagles, they're just chugging along, and they won't turn into their final form until December or January. So nothing crazy there. It was a good matchup, though, to be honest. Just to wrap that one up, it was a good, hard-fought game on both teams. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, the Eagles had the most fun, because whoever has the most fun wins. The Vikings Falcons is the next game I'm getting into. Unfortunately, McCarthy I think he might have hurt that ankle early, because he just never really got it going. And that is attributed to the Falcons defense, because that's the best they've looked in a long time. You had, what was it? Let me pull this up. You had Walker had a sack. Pierce had a sack, so that's 2 of their edge rusher rookies. Xavier Watts played unbelievable, and I believe he got a pick. And then Billy Bowman got 2 picks, one of them being a very good run back. And that's your top 4 picks? Because Walker and Pierce were both in the first round, I believe. Or no, Bowman, I think, was a 3rd round. Was Watts a 2nd round? Regardless of when they were drafted, if you have 4 picks playing starter, even just starter caliber football, and they're all playing good football, like Pierce on that sack, that pass rush acumen he had, it seems like it's going to come over just fine. And then Walker looked fucking great as well. And they have a really good, I like their rotation, honestly, because you got the young guys with Walker and Pierce, but then you also have Floyd and Ebiketie. So like what they were doing is they were having like Pierce and Floyd, essentially they're rookies with one of the other guys, like whether it's Floyd or Ebiketie, and like kind of just rotating them that way. So there was like a rookie, and I don't want to say a vet, because I believe Ebiketie was drafted last year, if I'm not mistaken. But I really liked how they did that. And then again, like I said last week, Ulbricht's just got the boys playing. It's a shame what happened in New York with him and Saleh, because they had the defense lights out. It was a top 5 unit for years, and it seems like Ulbricht's getting the ship righted in Atlanta, and you love to see it, because from all accounts, Ulbricht's the fucking man, and he's really cool. Bijan, or Bijan, however you pronounce it. I know he just recently changed how he likes it pronounced. Man, he's starting to play like he did, and like he did at Texas, and like we all thought he would. He's unbelievable, man. Some of the runs he makes, and then just catching the ball out. Like him and Saquon are probably the closest to Christian McCaffrey if I had to pick. And obviously McCaffrey's just elite at catching the ball out of the backfield and route running and stuff. But like Bijan's, he's just, no, I don't want to say just as. He's getting there. He's starting to get there. Michael Penix, another young player for them that looked great. He had one throw to London where he just kind of like throws it to his back shoulder. London catches it and keeps spinning. Unfortunately, it got punched out by, I think, it was either Bowman or Watts. So not only did each of them have a pick, but fucking had a forced fumble too. I think it might have been Bowman who had that forced fumble. But yeah, they look great. The Vikings never really got anything going, to be quite honest. Atlanta kind of handled this game the whole time. McCarthy looked out of sorts. I know there's some people scared that they got rid of Darnold for this guy. But it's like, you got to let the kid play, let him develop. Unfortunately, he won't for the next couple weeks because he's an ankle injury. Though that does leave way to Carson Wentz, which should be some electric football. Vikinged around, but I don't know. Penix just had all the answers. And I mean, the Vikings defense looked good because it's not like Atlanta was scoring at will, right? Their kicker, getting rid of Koo was the right call. Getting rid of Koo was definitely the right call. Darisaw, probably my biggest. Yeah, so both offenses were really struggling in the red zone is kind of what I got. But obviously, Atlanta made more kicks. Darisaw needs to be back yesterday. And then I think Kelly also went down. I don't know how long that might be for, but that offensive line is really the only reason why McCarthy, in my opinion, not the only reason, he's young, but like McCarthy, it's not doing any favors with that offensive line down there and JJ McCarthy. So yeah, McCarthy stinks. Penix rules. No, I'm just kidding. Such a primitive way to describe that. It's, yeah, both teams, one's going in, not, I don't want to say the wrong direction, but not the best direction. And the Falcons look on the up and up. I mean, hell, if they continue to play like they do, they might fight for the NFC South because they've always played the Bucs tough. That's the thing with the Falcons. They've always played the Bucs tough. And even last year when, I don't know if Penix came in at that point, but it was Kirk. I know Penix played him the last time and almost beat them. So who knows? I mean, they might challenge for the South with the Bucs. So yeah, that was a good game. I don't want to say a good game. That was a game. Definitely a game. So speaking of the Bucs, the rivals of the Atlanta Falcons, Texans Bucs was a dogfight. It was just Texans did look much better, but the offensive line, I mean, they still struggled to pick up stunts. They still struggled to do pretty much everything that they needed to do. They struggled against blitzes. I know there's a viral clip going on right now with a Levante David coffee house blitz, which the old coffee house kind of gets you if you're a younger offensive line, and I think they are. As I think Chris Long is the one who informed me of the coffee house blitz. But yeah, the Bucs just overmatched the Texans. I don't want to say even overmatched the Texans because you had Baker turning down. This was a dogfight. This game was a good game. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Let me rephrase that. The offense looks a lot better for the Texans. The line does still need work. I just went over why, but I mean, Nico Collins still looks great. Higgins seems to be getting going a little bit. Dalton Schultz. Yeah, Dalton Schultz. He was good. The running game seemed to get going a little bit better. Chubb looked not vintage because that's impossible now, it seems, with all the injuries that he's had. But yeah, they just look, I think once Mixon gets back and tries to and helps settle the run game down quite a bit, I think that offense is going to start taking off a little bit more. Nico Collins gets much deserved attention. And then, yeah, Texans still have line issues, picking up the blitz and stunts. Yeah, talking from what I saw, sorry, I'm just reading my notes. The Texans did create some holes in the running game. Their backs just aren't explosive. They're not Joe Mixon. They're not Saquon. Well, that's not fair to compare anyone to Saquon Barkley, even Joe Mixon. But yeah, it's just not fair to them to compare them that, but you can tell they're a little slow. I mean, maybe Chubb needs a little bit of time to get going, but I think he's more of the, not reserve, but the number 2 running back. Didn't really like the Texans going for it on 4th down because the Bucs held them on in the start of the 4th. They needed those points. And then the last thing I'll say is Nick Chubb scored way too quickly on the last thing I'll say about the Texans. That defense is that defense. I don't know how it did take them a little bit to get going, and the Bucs obviously were up a couple scores prior. But once that defense got going, they were like, oh yeah, we're the Texans defense. We're going to be headhunting and just, I mean, it's a fun defense to watch, man. If you enjoy defensive football, the Texans are your squad because it's a, like I said last week, it's a little bit of a throwback. They knock the fuck out of people and they just play physical and fast, and it's a fun brand of football on the defensive side. But they played really, really well the whole night until the last drive, to be quite honest. They played pretty solid, I should say, up all night until really just the last drive, because poor tackling is a big reason why Baker was able to drive down the field. There were a couple plays where it was just, some bad angles and people trying to, I think Henry To'oTo'o threw a shoulder and didn't wrap up, and you can't do that with a guy like Irving, and even Rachaad White had a massive day. So, or not massive, he had a good day. He had a great day. I think they had a couple hundred yards rushing. So not a couple hundred yards. I'm sorry, just under a couple hundred yards rushing. I know this isn't a great sale for the Texans defense, but I swear that for the most of this game, they were really fun to watch. But the Bucs, I mean, what can I say about the Bucs? They have some of the most weapons in all of football, even without 2 of their weapons. Bucky Irving's great, Rachaad White's great. I think they have a 3rd running back, and then you have Otto, who's there? Tyler Ott, not Ottawa Buccaneers. Man, give me a second. I literally looked this up the other day. All right, come on, 2025. I don't need to see Rob Gronkowski. Cade Otton, Jesus, why the fuck couldn't I remember his name? So yeah, they have Otton. They got some talent, and Mike Evans still looks like Mike Evans. Ibuka's fucking phenomenal. So, yeah, and then Baker's Baker. Like, I don't know if there's many other quarterbacks in the NFL that I would rather have in a 2-minute drill scoring game on the line than Baker Mayfield, like Lamar Jackson. Like, he's pushing himself up into, he might be in that, like, obviously at the bottom of it, but that top tier, because what are you looking for, right? You want a guy that if you get the ball back with 2 minutes left, shout out Nick Chubb, if you get the ball back with 2 minutes left, like you want a chance to score. And thanks to some bad tackling and some other stuff, like Baker drove him right down the field and scored, and I think he actually had a fourth down conversion, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Like, I don't know, man. I really like Baker Mayfield, and I just couldn't be happier for him, because he got thrown to the curb by the Cleveland Browns. And I mean, I don't need to tell you his story. You guys all know. It's man, it's wild. It's wild. I like this Bucks team a lot. One thing about their offense too is they always stay on schedule. It's like, okay, here, boom, boom, boom. Oh, it's third and manageable. You know what I mean? Like, first down, boom, second down, boom. And like, they're either running the ball or throwing a pass, and they're trying to get yards so Baker doesn't have to worry about third and long, because that's obviously the most difficult way to play offense is third and long. You want to get ahead of the chains, just old adages. And that's one thing that I really saw with their offense is they're always trying to get yards, even if it's a couple yards here, a couple yards there, because 2 yards on first down, 3 yards on second down puts you at 3rd and 5, right? So, or 1 yard on first down, 4 yards on second down puts you at 3rd and 5, and that's like the start of third and manageable. So they're always staying on schedule. And then, I mean, Baker's just poised no matter what's going on around him. And you just love to see it. I don't know. I like Baker. I like the Texans. CJ Stroud played much better than he did the first week. Love what I saw out of him. And I mean, this was a great game too. There are a lot of good games, as I mentioned before. Did I say that? There's a lot of good games this week, but Bucks Texans was definitely one of them. Last but certainly not least, Raiders Chargers. I'll end with the Bolts. Bolt up. They obviously won. Kind of just controlled this thing. They never really. I mean, it was close at points, but it never really seemed like this was achievable for the Raiders to win. That Chargers defense, man, is pretty fucking ridiculous. And they don't have a ton of like household elite talent names. Like, Still played incredible. He's balling out. Like, they have a bunch of guys in the secondary not named Derwin James. Tony Jefferson. Fuck, have a day. He had a deep pick, and he was making plays throughout the night as well. So shout out TJ. I'm stoked he's able to. Ravens, what am I trying to say? Shout out Tony Jefferson. He's love to see him still playing and all that type of stuff. He's one of my favorite Ravens from that era of like the end of Flacco into the early Lamar. But yeah, he looked good. The whole defense, I mean, fuck, they should have had like 15 picks. They didn't drop him, but like there were some opportunities, man. They had a lot of opportunities to pick off Geno. I don't know if he was just throwing the ball around, and it was funny. They definitely had their opportunities, and they did come away with a couple picks. But another thing I really like about the Chargers is they're always seeming to get points. So they're doing what the Steelers did or like to do, but actually like playing stifling defense and making it very difficult to score. Right. I think the Raiders only had 3 field goals. So yeah, it's they're always getting points, and they're playing some lights out defense. I could see Jesse Minter being on a different team here in the next year or two, because I mean, what he's doing with his defense. And again, it's like, even so Mac left and you didn't really notice that he was gone. Like, to be quite honest, like they were still getting pressure. Sure, Bud Dupree had to play a little bit more, and some of the other guys had to kind of pick up the slack, but like you didn't really notice it. Derwin James is playing like he's always been able to play. There were a couple of down years at the end of the Staley tenure where you're just like, what the fuck is going on? And then thankfully he got out of Staley jail, and Harbs came in and changed the deal, and Jesse Minter's letting him get back to kind of what he was doing, like just being an ace, being if you need him in the slot covering Bowers, do that. If you need him playing free, he can play anywhere on the defense, much like Kyle Hamilton. So love to see him back up to where he was as far as skills wise. What else we got here? Quinn Johnson again, just another Johnson, just another week, it's amazing. I needed to knock on wood. 1, 2, 3. Like, he looks great, man. He looks great. He's exactly what you wanted when you draft someone like that, right? And just a big body. I mean, fuck. It's awesome. One thing I will say, the Pats weren't the only ones to down block a tight end, and unfortunately, or to down block with a tight end. And unfortunately, instead of Bradley Chubb, who is again still a great player, this time for for the Chargers, it was Max Crosby. I think Roman did it a couple times, and it's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, your tackle's struggling with Max Crosby. What are we? Why are we down blocking? Disley just it was a rough go for Dis Dog. But yeah, outside of that, the Raiders, man. I mean, it was only 20-9. It's not like the Chargers balled out offensively. They did well offensively, but it's not like they did. It's why this Raiders defense is another one, the same thing as the Chargers. Like, they don't have very much talent all across the board. You know, like if you looked at these defenses on paper, you're like, well, like these guys played well. For the Chargers, it's like, well, these guys played well last year. And it's like the Raiders, it's like, who do you have on your defense? You know, that was my biggest concern with the Raiders is their defense. And so the Raiders, Max has those boys. Max and Pat Graham have those boys playing lights out, honestly, because that perked up. Yeah, the Chargers had a couple good drives and all that type of stuff, but they were stingy. They were just as stingy as the Chargers. So it's really awesome to see. It's really awesome to see the Raiders kind of get back to having a good defense and just playing tough ball. Like I said, with Geno, he was just kind of slinging it because he had to, you know, and put the ball in harm's way quite a bit. Raiders are going to need a wide receiver one, even with Bowers. Just, I don't know, Myers is a good option. The kid Thornton needs to get a little older. He's a burner, and he had some good plays, but you can just tell he needs to kind of develop a little bit more. They just need someone other than Myers and the conglomerate of receivers that they currently have, because it's, you know, Bowers is banged up, and like, sure, that might be fine even if he was fully healthy, but even then it's like, who are you going to throw it to? I mean, I guess we'll see when Bowers is, but I don't even think Tom Brady's going to argue that they don't need a wide receiver one, like a proper wide receiver one, because Myers is great and reliable, but he's not, you know. I mean, look at how the Chargers played. It's like Geno threw him the ball a couple times in some high leverage moments, and he just kind of got clamped. So Genty's going to be really fucking good. I can't wait for him. He just needs space, man. He needs a little more space from that offensive line. I'm a little disappointed with the Raiders' offensive line. They're not nearly as good as I thought they were going to be. So I'm a little disappointed with them. But I mean, he gets a little more space and kind of figures out the spacing, like understanding where he needs to be, what he needs to do, the angles he needs to take, and all that type of stuff. Like he's not going to skip a beat from the, like, sorry, I know everyone was praying for his downfall, but he's not going to skip a beat at all, because it's impressive, man. It's really impressive with Genty, and he's still got the catch ability, still got the burst, still got the shiftiness, and still really fucking hard to tackle. Because even with what am I trying to say? Even with getting hit pretty soon, like he still had some, I don't want to say Penn State runs, because that's like one of the grittiest fucking runs I've ever seen in my life. That Penn State one in the college football playoff last year with Genty. But he only did 3 yards a carry. Like, yeah, but he was getting hit in the backfield 5 yards deep every fucking time. So same kind of deal with this. Once he gets a little more space, once they get that offensive line solidified, or they play a couple teams that don't. I mean, I guess the Chargers don't really have the best run defense. But yeah, Raiders are going to be just fine. I don't know if they'll be competing for the AFC West, as some people thought they might. I really think it's just going to be a three-headed race between the Chiefs, if they can kind of right the ship there, and really just the Chargers and the Broncos, because I think both those teams are just, right now, week 2, the Chargers and the Broncos are like a class above both the Raiders and the Chiefs, but the Chiefs is still the Chiefs until proven otherwise. Yeah, I mean, anything else that I have to say about the Raiders is just their defense is, I'm just really, really impressed with Patrick Graham and their defense. It's pretty wild. And then for the Chargers, they continue to play good ball. They're not doing what the Chargers used to do. And you're like, oh, well, the Chargers are going to charge her. You know, it's like, oh, okay, cool. They're just going to blow this lead, or like their main person's going to get hurt. And then, like, you know, or I'm not entirely sure. Like, you know what I mean by that? It's just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case this year. It seems like Harb's got those boys. And then you also have Greg Roman actually playing proper fucking like passing concepts and all that type of stuff. So it's going to be an interesting year. And then that pretty much wraps up week 2. I'm all done with all the games. I hope you liked the episode, and like, comment, subscribe, whatever else. I think Thursday or Friday, tomorrow or Friday, I'll be doing a preview for all 16 games for week 3. And yeah, got shorts posting. I'm going to try to do more impromptu stuff when I first learn about information and all that type of stuff. I'm going to try to just do immediate reaction kind of stuff. So like, comment, subscribe. Again, thanks for watching this episode of Fourth and Vibes. Jeremy out.